lies down for a while. You see this mark here by my finger? I don't know whether you can make that out, but that's actually a coppery mark, and that of course is, and there's another one there, and there's a very slight one there. So I'll take those two off with the emery tape. You expect that the sides aren't as worn as the front and the back, right? Which is what this is showing up. So I'll take those two off, offer it in again, turn it again, and then once again relieve it. And we'll just crack on doing that. It's working really well. This is going to be a perfect Kingpin. Not that I wanted a perfect Kingpin, but I wanted one better than the one I had, because there was actually, when you cleaned it out, got all the crap out, but put the pin back in, there was a lot of play on it. Like all the steering, there's a lot of play on it. Both these steering bushes here are worn out, both sides. I didn't think they were, but look at that. You know, the other one's even worse. In fact, I believe the other one may have worn into the yoke, but some welding and boring will cure that. This is what, to be honest, I said yesterday that I was going to take this other wheel off and check the bearings in that as well, and take the Kingpin out and check that as well, and then do another order of spare parts. But I really don't like leaving it hanging like that, especially if you have to. Well, it doesn't look like I'm going to have to take that, unbolt that Kingpin housing, I suppose you'd call it. Now it looks like I'm going to be able to get away with it, but we shall see. I shall crack on with that Kingpin, and I'll bring you back when it's fitting beautifully. Bye now. 4:43. I haven't been at it all day because I had to go out to a breakdown, because Keith got on my 2CV tractor and managed to get the belt jammed. It wasn't really his fault, but I'm not telling him that. Right, what happened is the belts where they go over the jockey pulleys, the belt had jumped from one side jockey pulley to the other, and it was trying to go in two different directions on the same belt. So what I need to do is to move the pulley slightly outwards on the shaft, which I can do, which isn't a problem. So that's a mild adjustment and a new belt required, because it's burnt out now. It won't drive properly anymore, it's stretched. But I've come back and I've got a stop to stop. It just needs some very fine tuning right at the top, just to stop it binding a little bit. But I think you'll agree that that is a job, and there is no play on it, or at least very little play. It needs some play for the grease to get in. So I'm keeping on easing it. Whenever I get a coppery mark on it, I'm keeping on easing it. But that is into, if I can just keep you upright, that is into bushes which have not been ringed. That's into standard bushes, right? And I've managed to get this spindle within 2 or 3 thou of round, because most of what I've taken off has been at the sides where it hasn't worn. Most of the wear takes place on the front and the back faces where all the load is. So you'll get that face will wear and that face will wear, right? So the unworn bit is going to be the side, at either side. So you find that most of the places where it catches are on the side. So you emery tape those down, and then you flip it over and you emery tape all the others down. Keep checking it with the micrometer, and you can gradually get it back to round and get it all back to round. Well, I suppose I've taken about 3 or 4 thou off it, and it's almost back to round. It's within a couple of thou of round now, whereas there was about a 5 thou difference. I mean, it's not a lot, but it makes a difference. So I'm going to crack on with this for the last few minutes of the day. Hang on, what time is it? Oh, it's 4:46. It's nearly 4:45. Well, it is 4:45. I can't tell the time. Badly brought up. Poor education. I'm going to carry on with this now, and I'm almost melting here. God, it's so warm. I'm going to carry on with this and get it to fit. I'm very happy with it, it fits well. I only hope I don't have to do this on the other side, but I bet I will. Alright, catch you later people. If I get it perfect before 5 o'clock, I might bring you back and show you. If not, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye now. Good morning people. Thursday, 11 o'clock. And if I can get this in one-handed. There we go. We have a really good fit. We have virtually no play and no binding. Right, now I want to just keep going. I'm a bit breathless because I've just been emery taping. I want to keep going a little bit, right, just so that we can get some grease clearance in it. But it seems to be working really well. That seems to be it. It's into full depth. It doesn't bind. So I'm going to try it. I might try it now with the jack under it and a spring, just to make sure it's not binding. But it's certainly free. So, as I was saying yesterday, where it takes place on Kingpins, on the actual stay still, sit down, on the actual thrust faces, which are, if you imagine the leverage working like that, it will wear at that side at the top and at that side at the bottom, because all the weight's trying to twist the pin that way. So that's where you get your maximum wear. So the pin will wear oval. Right, now what I've tried to do as far as I can is I've put the bushes back in, right, put new bushes in, and instead of reaming the bushes to suit a 1.5 perfect kingpin, I've very slightly reduced the kingpin to fit the new bushes at the standard size, and it's worked. It's hard work. I wouldn't recommend it for the faint-hearted, but it's worked, and it saved me 50 quid, 55 quid plus VAT for buying a new one of these. But the thing is, there doesn't seem to be a reamer available at any price, unless I go to America, and even then, you know, it could arrive and not be suitable. Because what you need to be able to do is to put a long reamer in with a spigot which centres itself in the bottom bush, so that you know you're reaming the top bush parallel with the bottom bush. I've seen various methods of doing this. I had to do some once on a Ford Transit many moons ago, which I took to my local Ford dealer, who broached them for me. Broaching is where they literally have a cutter, a vertical pin cutter with annular rings round it, which are sharp, which you force through the kingpin using a press, using a hydraulic press, and that scrapes the bushes vertically. The other one is the ordinary type of reamer with a pilot bearing on it, or a spigot bearing on it, that keeps the whole thing in line with the kingpin, and reams it that way. I think the broaches are better, but when you broach kingpins, you're broaching them to a standard size, because you're fitting a new kingpin, which is of course a standard size, and the clearance required for greasing is already built in. With this, I'm having to play it by ear. So what I'm going to do soon is I'm going to check that the grease nipple's clean, pop some grease through it, clean out the sludge at the other side, and then I'll put the kingpin back in and grease it. I just need to suss out the locations of the seals. I know there's one at the top. I don't know if there's one at the bottom, but I'll find out. Right, I'm going to crack on with this, and I'll bring you back when I've done it. Bye now. And there we are, folks. It's just after 12, and we have a perfect Kingpin. New rubber seal in the top. There's a rubber seal that fits in the top there. No seal in the bottom, even though I thought there should be, but there is no space for one. And pin back in. Not tightened up yet because I might have to take it out again. I've also driven a new bush into there, which is good. That one is unworn. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take off this cross link because the other side is worn to a point where I think it may have worn into the yoke here. So I'm going to take that off, knock the pin out, take that off and have a look and see if it's knackered. But to all intents and purposes, that's this side finished. I need a new outer bearing to put the wheel back on, but that's out of stock at the moment, so I'm going to paint the wheel before I put it back on anyway. So next I'm going to do this yoke and start moving towards the other side, just in case I need any more parts for the other side. But I'm very pleased with that. I used the original truss race, repacked, cleaned it out, washed it out, oiled it, repacked it with grease, and it seems to be, it was very smooth, seemed to be utterly perfect. So I'm going to take this dodgy looking drag link off at this side. See what I mean? I think that's worn oval. So I'm going to take that off now and see how bad the damage is. And what I'll have to do is bore it straight, put a bush in it, and then probably just weld the bush and repair it that way. Right, I'll bring you back in a minute. Bye now. Right folks, here we have the problem. Now there's a lot of play on this, but on a new pin there's still play, but not very much. I think what might be called for here is just a blob of weld on the inside of each and a file, and then I think we'll file the top off and we'll put a flat washer on there and maybe a flat washer or a doughty washer under there if I can find one, just to take up a bit of spring, and that way it will turn on the bush and not on the steel to steel. What should I say? Probably, is it forging? It's probably a forging, isn't it? Yeah. There's probably people out there screaming, what the hell are you messing about at? It's a tractor, that doesn't matter. Well, it probably doesn't, but they don't call me Dr. Fuckabout for nothing. Alright, bye now. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, this side's finished, it's superb. The yoke, which has got a bit of play in it, I'm just going to blob some TIG braze in it and just grind it, not grind it, just fire it up. This is buggered. Right, that Kingpin's buggered. I'm not even going to try to restore that. It's had a slot ground in it there and a pin driven into it to stop the, I presume, to stop the drag link turning. It's also had a blob of weld put on it there, so I am going to get a new one of these and I'm going to get a new Kingpin. I've already got the Kingpin kit, so I just need that and that. I also need one inner wheel bearing for the other wheel. This wheel bearings are fine. I've taken this drag link off the steering arm and I'm just going to check the balls in that to see if I need any ball knuckles, and then I can put an order in again and we can get sorted. So what have we got? We've got, that's the link with the yoke with the worn oval holes in it. That's all set up there ready for brazing, and this is the drag link which has just been placed on a hammerhead and I had the gentle tap on the taper to free it off. For gentle tap read full weight blows, but they pop off. I mean, I used to do it when I was in the 70s for my sins up here. This was my garage. I ran this as a motor garage for the local area, and I was always busy, and made a lot of money. I used to straighten crash cars. I had a Eurodozer and porter power equipment, and I finally got sick of it because most of what I ended up doing was brakes, exhaust systems and welding cars that should have been in the scrapyard. So I gave that up and went and did something completely different, which was be a shopkeeper in a second-hand shop. But there you go, that's part of my fantastically varied past. So that side I'm really happy with. That's lovely. That's really lovely. And I want to get the other side the same way. So once again I'm going to come across the problem of reaming the Kingpin bushes when I've got the new Kingpin bushes fitted. I've already got the Kingpin bushes, so I've no need to worry there. But as I say, I need a new swivel Kingpin assembly. I need a new drag-link arm to go with it. But they're not, to say that, you know, they're not that expensive. They're really not. You know, I mean, some parts I used to buy for cars many moons ago, astronomical, and these are cheap. These are cheap, and they're available, which is amazing, because this is a 1955 tractor, and yet parts are still easily available. There you go. They're probably all from India or somewhere like that, because they still use Fordson Majors by the thousand, by the tens of thousands in India, and plenty of other places. Right, I'm going to crack on, get these ball joints out. Now these are fun and games, but I've had fun and games with these before on 2CVs. What you have to do is to take the pin out, heat the end of the thing up, and then with a massive screwdriver get them turning, and then once you've slacked them off you can take the ball out. Same at the other end. Same at the other end, except that one does not appear to have, it has a hole, but it does not appear to have a split pin through it. So that one might be free. So who knows. Right, I'm going to crack on with that, and I'll bring you back if I ever get it done. Bye now. Well, drag link end number 1 without the split pin in came out easily. It was loose, as I suspected. Unfortunately, the ball failed its circularity test, so I need a new one of those. That's awful, but they are available, and they're only £8, so there you go. So we'll get a new one of those on order, and maybe 2. So next thing I'm going to do is turn it over, do the other end, and see if that's knackered as well. The other end looks a bit more rusty, so it might be more trouble, but I'll bring you back when I've done it. Bye now. Well, that's it folks, it's Thursday, it's 5 o'clock. So I want a double drag link, a swivel, one outer wheel bearing, and a pair of balls. I'm a little mystified by this seat, which doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but I shall repair it. I think the balls are the only parts you can get, so there you go. I shall repair it as I go along. I've worked with this type of steam swivel before on 2CVs, and they're not hard to repair. You can easily get them working smoothly again. And let's face it, it's only a tractor, as I keep telling myself. I think tomorrow morning, first thing, I'd better have a tidy up on time, because this is a bit atrocious. Good God, tractors are filthy to work on. I thought this tractor was fairly clean. It had been in here at the time, but as soon as you get into this God knows what they used to use to grease these tractors with. It's like tar. It's like tar. Your hands are black in seconds and it's sticky and horrible. Oh dear. Right. Okay. That's it for Thursday, folks. See you tomorrow. Bye now. Good morning, people. Friday. Just gone lunchtime. And I'm tidying up. I've ordered all my parts. I've ordered my new Kingpin. I've ordered my new double swivel arm. And my wheel bearing and bits and pieces, other bits and pieces. And they'll be here on Monday. So there you go. So I shall continue to tidy up because the place is an awful mess. And then I'll bring you back when I'm doing something more interesting, although unfortunately it's likely to be cleaning that bugger. So I've now got both wheels off. Both those bearings are good. The front bearing on that was knackered, so that's got a new one on order. Right, onward. See you in a minute. Well folks, it's 3:30 and I'm still tidying up, although I have made good progress. We have a more or less tidy bench. All the crap's cleaned up. Do you know, tractors develop a really special sort of grime and dirt on them. It's a mixture of oil, grease and clay, I think, and mud, and it gets you absolutely filthy. However, those parts will be here on Monday. I've done various little fixes. I've fixed that bolt, possibly. Thread was damaged because I hit it with a hammer. Which was bad. And I've realised something on these bushes. Let me just show you. I'm going to have a word with the people that supplied them and tell them that they need modifying. 2 bushes. There's a top and a bottom on each bush. Now you see there that the grease slot in them, the grease, what would you call it? The grease cutting, the grease tube is open. That goes to the middle. So that one on the bottom bush, it goes down, it goes up, and on the top bush it goes down, because the grease nipple is in the middle, so that when the grease nipple is fed with grease, the grease works its way around the spiral groove and greases the whole kingpin or spindle, or whatever you want to call it. But the bottom bush is supposed to be open at both ends so that the grease can go all the way around the kingpin and then come out of the bottom and grease the thrust bearing, right? And these aren't open at the bottom, so the thrust bearing will never get any grease. So I'm going to open one of these at the bottom with a Dremel or some such, probably there with a Dremel, and then I'm but I've already fitted one when I reread the manual and grasped the but I'd already fitted one when I grasped the full meaning of what it was saying about one bush being put at the top and one bush being put at the bottom. So I'm going to whip this kingpin off again, which is no big deal. It's just a matter of taking that bolt out, which isn't even tightened up, and then just tapping that down. It'll fall out, and I'll wipe the grease out the bottom, and I shall file a little slot into the bottom one so that it connects to the outer world, so that when you grease the grease nipple there, it fills up, it goes up the spiral to the top of the bearing, it goes down the spiral to the bottom of the bearing, and then it comes out at the bottom. Because when I started to grease this, it immediately filled up with grease. It immediately started coming out at the top, which is past a rubber seal, but nothing came out at the bottom. Nothing at all. And that tells me that no grease is getting to the bottom, which is a bad thing. Because these thrust bearings are most important for the steering to work smoothly. If you have seized up or poorly greased thrust bearings, the steering's very heavy on these tractors, and just not nice to drive. I'm hoping this will be really superb to drive. I've also put the I've put the track rod, no, not that, this drag link back together temporarily until the new bolts come on Monday. I may have to make a new cup for that, which I'll probably have to harden after I've made it. Very easy to make, just a piece of round bar with a cup turned in it, but I'll have to make it out with some tools still so I can harden it afterwards, which means I'll have to soften it before I can turn it, but I'll have to see what I've got. Other than that, we have the second pair of bearings cleaned up. This is the first one, which is no good. If you look at the bearings, look at the rollers on that, they're all really rough and badly damaged at the bottom, so I'm scrapping that. Don't know what the race is like actually. Yeah, the race is quite badly hammered. They've not been adjusted for ages. That's hammered there. That looks like Brunelli actually. Looks like that's where it's been stood. But there you go. But I mean, it wouldn't really have mattered. You could have filled it in, filled it with new grease and just run it. But these three bearings are good, and they're only about 12 quid for a new bearing. So I thought, sod it, get a new bearing. Right, I'm now going to have a cup of tea and then just finish sweeping up, and I think the tidy up is complete. Right, I'll bring you back if I ever get to do anything interesting. Bye now. Right folks, the gear's in, the door's closed, it's Friday night and we're finished for the week. I managed to get that cleaned up. It's taken me an hour to get the grease and crap out of the inside of that bearing. Case, God knows what it was, but it was foul. It was like a mixture of gravel, and those bearings are pretty knackered, and I think time I prat about, I may as well put new bearings in it all round. So I'm going to order some over the weekend. That obviously needs cleaning down, but I started off by getting the grease out so that when I start to rattle gun it off, when I start to use the needle gun on it to get the old paint off, it won't all fly in there and stick to the grease. God, these wheels are heavy. Right, that's it. So Monday, take that Kingpin out and put the grease slot in where it should be. Get that wheel cleaned, get it painted, and with any luck the bits will arrive on Monday, so Tuesday it'll be all hell and no notion. I've got one of these little things, one of these little glaze buster type things. I've ordered 3 new stones for it, right? So that might be the tool I use to get the Kingpin fitted at that side when it arrives. But who knows? I'll get all the bushes knocked in. I haven't knocked the bushes out yet. I'll get the bushes knocked in and we'll have a look at it and measure it again, measure it all up again and see how many thou difference we've got and how much needs taking out with the bushes. Obviously I won't be taking anything off the new Kingpin, but there you go. Right, thanks for watching everybody, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It makes a lovely difference to me. Makes the frog pleased as well. My mole in the garden under the apple tree works apple tree, is going like the clappers. Mole hills are appearing by the hour. I've flattened all these out, cut the grass, and now he's going that way. So there you go, this will be completely covered before then. I only hope there's only one of them. Right folks, I'll see you all next week as the sun sets to the west of Langtoft. Bye now.